The 713th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code MMA SGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. And we're brought to you by Rebet, a new sportsbook available in 45 states. Download Rebet in your app store and use promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match of up to $100. And finally, we're brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing the college football and NFL seasons with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Heidi ho, degenerinos. We're back again. More UFC 310 coming into your orifices. This would be episode 713 of the MMA Gambling Podcast. Who am I dedicated it to? It's someone on YouTube, because I told you, if you say nice things about us on YouTube, I will credit you for it. Actually, this person, Jiří Tomanek, let us know who the matchmaker of Octagon was and the co-owner. So we appreciate any Octagon intel we can get. So thank you to you. If you people wonder what Octagon is, then go back a couple episodes and you should listen to our Octagon previews this week. There's money to be made and there's fun fights to be watched from Munich, Germany this coming weekend. So, and it leads you right up to this UFC event that we're covering. And the evening of Saturday, if you're in the Eastern time zone, UFC 310 Pantoja versus Asakura is what it is called. I didn't think I said that yesterday, but we weren't covering this main card yesterday anyhow. We've got the five-fight main card today. We got a title fight on top. We got some other interesting fights. Probably a number one contender fight in the co-main event. And other meaningful fights on the card as well. Let's bring in my co-host, Mr. Daniel Gumby Vreeland, and we can get the festivities started. Hello.
Hey, yeah, it's probably a number one contender fight, right? It is weird to me that they didn't wind up making this an interim title fight. He was like, because we know when the champ's coming back. And it's like, don't we have an interim champion in the heavyweight division with the champ already back? And we already knew when he was going to be back. Didn't we give one of them an interim title fight when we knew exactly when Francis Ngannou would be back anyway? Like, just because we know when they would be back, it's kind of a weak answer.
Stop using logic here. Don't expect them to be consistent or logical, Gumby. They do what they want to do. So yeah, but it is surprising. They love their interim title fights because then they can boast. There's 2 title fights on the card,
but they didn't even do that here, and that's what's surprising to me.
Yeah.
I did hear rumors in there that they had sort of tried to get Shavkat versus Prochas before Ian Garry, but that just to me makes it seem like they didn't want to give an interim title to Ian Garry, which of course begs a lot of questions.
Yeah. You think they would? Any publicity is good publicity in the UFC. It's not like he's the most problematic Irish fighter on the roster currently. So
not by a minute.
Not by a minute. He really has not done anything wrong. So he just rubs people the wrong way. So so let's jump into this here main card. It's we have a debuting fighter in the main event going for a title. Do you remember the last time that has happened? Was it the Pride days or have we had it since then?
I think it probably had to be the Pride crossovers because when I posed this question to my other co-host on my other podcast,
don't talk about him in front of me.
When I mentioned it to him, he was like, "Oh, it's got to be Cyborg," but even she had like kind of a dummy fight before they let her fight for a title. So
did she fight Leslie Smith first?
Yeah. No? Oh, you know who probably was the last one to debut for a title? Tonya Evinger. I bet you was the last one.
Wasn't that short notice?
It was short notice, and they needed somebody to fight Cyborg when Cyborg had already beaten. Did she beat Yana Kunitskaya to start?
I don't remember.
I want to say she beat Yana Kunitskaya, but like whoever she beat, I think then they gave Tonya Evinger a title fight, and she hasn't won since.
No. Misha Tate debut in a title fight or not?
I mean, I guess if you count like the origin of the women's divisions, like all of them probably had debuting title fights.
That's true. But anyhow, it's a rare thing, and it's a Japanese fair, so that probably is the reason that he's debuting. They've struck out on all their attempts to create a Japanese star and to break into the Japanese market, but maybe Kai Asakura is their ticket to it. Who's the future is unknown, but he is a flyweight as well, so they're notoriously bad at promoting flyweights, even if it's a generational talent, greatest fighter possibly of all time. But anyhow, I digress. Let's get cracking after I remind you, download the SGPN app. is completely free, and you have easy access to all our shows, all our picks, pages, and gummies and mine. We do about 28 articles a piece a day on Sports Gambling Podcast. So check it out. Just go in the App Store. SGPN is the thing you need to search. The old guy's getting his terms mixed up here. He's saying Google when Google is not the term there. All right, main card, 10 p.m. start time on Saturday. UFC 310, Pantoja versus Asakura. T-Mobile Arena, Paradise, Nevada. Tickets still available. I hear they're getting discounted by the minute. So if you want to go, you may be able to get in for cheap. We're starting off with featherweights. Nate Landwehr, Duhu Choi kick things off. This could be fight of the night. So a good kickoff to the main card portion. Let's tell you about the Korean super fight first. That'll be Choi, 15-4-1, 12 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been knocked out twice. 4-3-1 in the UFC, 1-3-1 over his last 5. He won his last 5 via TKO. He's not lost since December 2019. That's mostly due to inactivity. He's not used to fight at 155, 2009 pro MMA debut. An inch of height, 3 years younger than Landwehr. Better striking stats than Landwehr. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 0.08 strikes per minute, plus 125. The Train, Nate the Train Landwehr, 18-5. 9 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out twice, submitted once. 5-3 in the UFC, 4-1 over his last 5. Won his last 5 via KO. Multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Store gets sticky. 2012 pro MMA debut. 2 inches of reach over Choi. More active landing strikes and better grappling stats than Choi. He's outstruck his opponents in the UFC by half a strike per minute. Minus 138. I kick off the main card. Give me the Train. Nate Landwehr, Duhu Choi. Best days are behind him, even though he did get a win. Probably since I said that. Landwehr's getting the job done. Pretty good everywhere, especially on the feet, but pretty solid grappling as well. I like the number we're getting on him as well. So give me the Train.
Yeah, I think people sleep on his submission skills too. Like 2 out of his last 4 wins are by submission. He's got nice Doris chokes, front headlock kind of stuff. He's a good candidate for a club and sub almost all the time. I really like him in those instances. So yeah, I like that aspect of his game. And also just like, it seems like Duhu Choi, to your point, is best days are behind him. And it's also his best days are behind him in terms of like, it seems like his chin is maybe not as good as it used to be. Right. Cause that was why we loved him. Right. Like he went in that fight with Cub Swanson and he threw down and he looked great when he was doing it, but then he got knocked out by Charles Jourdain. And, I'm not here hating on Charles Jourdain, although I've done it before. I'm not here hating on Charles Jourdain, but like, if you were that guy who has that steel chin, you take the punches that Charles Jourdain throws.
Yeah.
And he didn't. And for me, that's enough for me to say like, okay, maybe that's not it anymore. Maybe that can't be his thing. And if that's not his thing, like he's a power puncher who's a little bit on the one-dimensional side. And I'll take Landwehr all day over that.
All right. Yes. Nate the Train Landwehr, a friend of your other podcast, correct?
He's been on it a few times. Yeah. One time he did an interview. I'll share this. And it was, it was on Skype and we were just doing audio, but he kept turning the video on anyway. And there was this weird red light that was lighting up his face. It was like he was in a gym and the only light was like the round clock and it was like red and lighting up his face. It was really hard to keep a straight face for the entire interview.
You didn't ask what the deal was there?
I know. I just let it. He was saying some wild stuff, so I just let it go.
Yeah, let him go then, right? Let the Train ramble.
He's great content.
Yes. Maybe he lives in one of those like pods like Darth Vader or what's his face? His grandson, Ben Solo, maybe. That's what I'm picturing. Him inside there with like a red light on him. So, All right, Nate the Train. I'm rambling like a train now too. All right, we're on the same page here. This, I think you had the next fight, I think, is a friend of your show as well. Bryce Mitchell, correct?
No, I've never.
He hasn't been on your show before?
No, never.
And at this point,
it would have been memorable. I don't know that I need that.
Yeah. You might get attention. Featherweights, Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie. I think this is the Galaxy Brain matchup. Supreme, right?
Yeah.
Couple Galaxy Brains against each other.
The greatest Galaxy Brain matchup in the history.
I don't know a heck of a lot of things that Gracie has said, probably thankfully, but I hear he's along the same lines as him, and they'll probably go have a beer after and cook up some conspiracies. Gracie, yep, still in the UFC, 5-2. That could be this whole episode. UFC 310, yep, still in the UFC is what it should be called. He's 5-2 with 5 submissions. Never been finished in a fight. 1-2 in the UFC. He's lost 2 straight. He's not fought since May 2023. He's not won since February 2019. He's fight at 160 pounds, the revered weight class of 160. 2014 Pro MMA debut. He grappling world champion multiple times over. Probably an understatement even saying that. More active landing strikes than Mitchell, which is saying a lot, actually. He has been outstruck in the UFC by 3.08 strikes per minute, plus 550. Thug Nasty, 16-2 with 9 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. 7-2 in the UFC. Loss, win, loss. Got knocked out in his last fight. 1-1 in the Ultimate Fighter, a regional champion. 2-0 in World Series of Fighting. Used to fight at 135. An inch of height over Gracie, 6 years younger. Better striking stats, better grappling stats. And he has outstruck his opponents by 0.67 strikes per minute. Minus 700. I told you there's some interesting lines. I'm not saying it's a wrong line, but we got some wide lines this episode.
Yeah, I'm going Bryce Mitchell. Obviously.
Oh, so you agree with everything he believes in? Great. You hear that?
No, everybody? I'm not. That's not what I said.
I have an economics degree, I just like he does, which makes me proud. But anyhow,
I'm going to go with Bryce Mitchell. I think for me, the big piece of this is just like, what's Kron's path to victory? You know, like he's really good at jiu-jitsu. He's probably better at jiu-jitsu than Bryce Mitchell. But Bryce Mitchell is very good at jiu-jitsu. He is a very, I mean, he's maybe one of the best in this division in terms of his jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. His boxing defense has been really bad. Ask Josh Emmett. Was it Ilia Topuria who knocked him out too?
Ask your dogs.
Yeah, you can ask my dogs. They're big Ilia Topuria fans. You know, like I think for me, I think the big piece of this is he can't get outboxed. And if he can't get outboxed, if he's the better boxer in the matchup, he's winning. So give me Thug Nasty. Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. He's only getting beat by people that are rocking him on the feet, and that is not what Kron Gracie's gonna do. He's not gonna beat him up in the feet, and he looked so horrible his last fight, and he's been gone forever. So Mitchell pretty much is the obvious pick here, as is Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menus for all sports. They got NFL, they got college football, they got college basketball, they got MMA, they got NBA, they got NASCAR, they got more. And you can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. Maybe Gumby or his dogs may have a play for you. Who's to say? Maybe both.
Yeah, I do have a play for you. I have just been loving the action that Rico Dowdle has been getting as of late. I think both in terms of volume and in terms of what he's been producing. So let's take the higher than on his rushing yards come Sunday.
I have him on my fantasy team. I had him on the bench this past weekend, which I still won. But yeah,
doing that. Why would you do that?
Because I had a better had a running back with more projected points, I believe. So yeah. Anyhow, I still won, thankfully. Take Gumby's advice and take my advice by signing up with our code MMA SGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's underdogfantasy.com, promo code MMA SGPN. And we're brought to you by Rebet. Rebet is a new social sportsbook available in 45 states. There are plenty of betting opportunities available on Rebet. It's easy to use and great for people in states where traditional sportsbooks may be restricted. Boo to those states. Download Rebet in the App Store and use the promo code SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $100 as Rebet, promo code SGPN. All right, Gumby and I have agreed on everything. I had predicted he was going to take a big dog on this episode. I predicted that yesterday, and then he took a couple big dogs yesterday. Well, not one big dog yesterday. So we'll see. We'll see if we are on the same track with the next fight. It's a heavyweight fight, a decent one though. It's not a bad heavyweight fight. Ciryl Gane Bongamin versus Alexandre Volkov, who will be Drago. We'll tell you about Volkov first. He's 38-10, 24 knockouts, 4 submissions. He's been knocked out twice, submitted 3 times, 12-4 in the UFC. He's won 4 straight and 5-6. He's not lost since March 2022. He lost to Gane back in June 2021. Has anyone decided how you say his name?
No, we have not.
No. Okay, good. It's not just me then. Perfect. He's a regional champ. He went 6-3 in Bellator and was the champion there. Bellator, can I say Bellator never die? No, they have another event booked, right? At least one more.
I don't know. Maybe.
PFL Tour. It's going to PFL Tour. 2009 Pro MMA debut. 3 inches of height over Gane. Zell struck his opponents in the UFC by 2.13 strikes per minute, plus 275. Bongamin Gane. 12-2. 6 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been submitted once, 9-2 in the UFC. He's a former interim champion. Win over his last 4. TKO win in his last fight. Regional champion, 13-0 in Muay Thai, and the champion there. An inch of reach over Volkov, 2 years younger. Better striking stats, more active landing strikes. He's outstruck his opponents by 3.3 strikes per minute, minus 335. Give me Gane here. Volkov's. It's actually what I said yesterday about the Randy Brown fight. Volkov's used to being much bigger, or at least longer than his opponents. It's not really the case here. He's not longer. He's a few inches taller. Gane has shown he knows how to strike and avoid getting hit, which I think is going to be the key here. He's better technically on the feet than Volkov, and he's going to be able to avoid the big shot. So I think he can pick him apart, probably win a decision victory. So give me Bon Gamine.
I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to take the value on Alexander Volkov here.
There it is.
I think, and I'm not like super sold on Volkov here, but like in his last few fights, he's looked infinitely better, right? Like he is clearly a guy who, despite being late in his career, is like interested in making improvements and making a run back to the title. And you could see it in the Pavlovich fight. Like I did not expect him to tool on Pavlovich the way he did. And that's exactly what he did. He made Pavlovich look like he's never boxed before.
Yeah, it was a surprise.
Yeah, it was a surprise to me. And like, I think sometimes too, we forget that he's like kind of sharp when he's on top game and he's controlling people in his wrestling. He's got an Ezekiel choke finish. And like, granted that was against was that Tai Tuivasa he hit with the Ezekiel choke? Like maybe not the best grappler, but like it's low-key, it's down in there. And he doesn't attempt a lot of takedowns, and I'm not expecting him to do that, but like, it's in there, and he seems to be making adjustments really well at this stage in his career. And I don't feel necessarily the same way as Ciryl Gane. Like he's still the same guy as when he debuted, right? Like Ciryl Gane came out and like, yeah, he threw in that weird heel hook on, was it Don'Tale Mayes? Like he heel hooked Don'Tale Mayes, but outside of that, like he's just been like a solid point karate or kickboxing kind of guy the whole time. And I don't think we've ever like watched a Ciryl Gane fight and been like, oh, there's a new wrinkle, or that's a new thing he does, or, I like this new aspect to his game. And I do keep saying that about Volkov. And for me, Volkov having been in there with him before and for as long as he was, I think he learns from this situation. I think we see a better version of him in there. And at least at this value, I think that fight was closer than, the odds even suggest it is now. So yeah, give me Volkov to upset the narrative here.
Yeah, I agree with the Gane analysis. We've seen his ceiling.
He's no different. There's no. Here's the other thing that's a bummer about that for me is that means he's got no shot at beating like my top four guys. Like he's not beating John Jones. We saw that. He's not beating Tom Aspinall. He's not beating Jailton Almeida. He's not beating Curtis Blades. Like those guys are just going to take him down and beat the hell out of him.
Yeah.
All four of them. So like for him not to have a different wrinkle in his game by now, it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, he's definitely limited, but it's good enough to win beat most fighters other than the handful Gumby just named, but they're the handful that you actually have to get through to become king of the castle in the UFC. All right, this is dubbed a UFC welterweight title eliminator, which is their way of getting out of saying number one contender fight. Just means whoever loses.
What a weird thing to do.
I know. It's whoever loses does not get a title fight. Well, that's pretty much every fight on here could be marked that, right?
That's how eliminator works.
Yeah. Is that not the way? It's pretty much.
They used to call number one contender fights title eliminators. That's like what they called them back in the day.
Yeah.
If they bring that back, I'm not opposed to it. Less interim titles, more title eliminators.
Unless your name's Nick Diaz, you're not getting a title fight off of a loss. So that's just pretty much the way it goes. Let's break it down. It's a welterweight fight. A fight I guess at this point we're cool with them putting two up and coming prospects against each other because one of them more than likely will get a crack at the title.
And there's enough prospects in this level too. Like we still got Prochas and Jack Della Maddalena who still have shine on them. Right.
Shavkat Rakhmonov. He was supposed to fight for the championship, but the champion Bilal Muhammad had to pull out of the fight. So instead, he's getting Ian Machado Garry. So no easy task for him here. It's basically short notice fight for both guys. Both guys had fights scheduled. They're fighting different opponents. So it's I am not marking this down as short notice for either guy. Machado Garry is the future. He hasn't proven otherwise yet. He's 15-0, 7 knockouts, 1 submission, 8-0 in the UFC. He was Cage Warriors champion. 2 inches of height over Rakhmonov, 3 years younger, more active landing strikes. He's outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 2.33 strikes per minute. He's at plus 310. Nomad Rakhmonov, 18-0, 8 knockouts, 10 submissions. He's finished everyone. He owes his rounds. 6-0 in the UFC. Multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky with it. 2014 Pro MMA debut. 3 inches of reach over Machado Garry. He's got better grappling stats. He's outstruck his opponents for 1.71 strikes per minute. He's at minus 350. So another wide line here.
Yeah, and I'm still going Rakhmonov. For me, you watch that Ian Garry fight with Michael Venom Page, and it was like, okay, there's the ceiling on Ian Machado Garry striking, right? And we kind of thought that going into the Michael Venom Page fight. Like, this is a fight where we will understand where his ceiling is in terms of striking, because he'd outstruck people that we might have thought he could struggle with. His striking has always looked up to par. And in that fight, we're like, okay, that's where the ceiling is. He's not a better striker than Michael Venom Page, but he's got this grappling in his back pocket that allows him to beat somebody like Michael Venom Page. There's no way that grappling plays against Shavkat. You know what I mean? And I do think Shavkat is up there in terms of striking. Now, there's some things he does defensively that, maybe make you wince a little bit or make you worry about him a little bit. But I think ultimately the striking prowess of Shavkat is good enough to hang with Garry. And I think he's got the wrestling advantage. He's certainly got a submission advantage. I mean, he's out there submitting everybody, whether you're standing up, sitting down, laying down. It doesn't matter. That guy's going to find your neck. For that to have been Ian Garry's ace in the back pocket that he sort of needed in that last fight, it certainly should give you alarm in this fight, because it's not here in this fight. I think we can all agree that wrestling background is not a factor for Ian Garry.
No, there's no real holes. Well, at least he hasn't shown any holes yet. But Shavkat hasn't. Not that Garry is looked bad, but yeah, that MVP fight was not encouraging. It's a big step up from MVP at this age against Shavkat. So that's a massive step up for Machado Garry. And I just don't see how his path to victory here. I guess a decision, but that's just going to mean he's going to be in danger for 15 minutes of a fight.
Is it a 15-minute fight?
That's a good question.
Because I think a 25 is even worse for him if possible, because the finishing upside is all on Shavkat. So
5 minutes. You're right. Yeah. 5-minute rounds. So 5 minutes.
So it's even more of a nightmare for Garry, because even if Garry outpoints him for 2 out of the first 3 rounds, it's gonna get worse for him, and the finishing upside's all on Shavkat. So one more reason to like Shavkat in this fight.
Shavkat is the pick. All right, before we get to the main event and our fancy dancy place, why did I close the ad reads? Because I'm dumb and I'm old. That's why. I'm going to tell you about. It's on our screen if you're watching YouTube. My bookie. I put our 2 sponsors' names together. MyBookie.ag. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie has been running on SGPN for years. Check out their new and improved website. It's great on mobile. Plus props for every game and the live dealer casino. Even the new early cash out options are available. Check out the UFC 310 bets. We're telling you who to pick. Now you can go to MyBookie and actually make the plays. Head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus $10 casino chip. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. SGPN's proud partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or have Rhythm build a model for you. You can now track props in the Rhythm app. NFL picks, NFL props, college football, college basketball, and NBA. Rhythm has it all, including Al Horford player props, of course. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RTHMM. All right, to the main event, ladies and gentlemen. It's for the flyweight championship of the world, because no middleweights were available, apparently. Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Asakura, the debuting Kai Asakura. We'll tell you about him first. If you're not familiar about him, here is his resume, at least on paper. You can go check out some film. He's fun to watch too. 21-4, 13 knockouts, 3 submissions. Been knocked out 3 times. This is his debut. He went 13-3 in Ryzen. He was a champion 2 times over. He's 2-0 over his last 2, 5-1 over his last 6. Both of his past 2 wins have come via knockout and/or TKO. Used to fight at 135, 2012 pro MMA debut. 3 inches of height, 2 inches of reach over Pantoja, 3 years younger, plus 230. Pantoja is the cannibal. 28-5, 8 knockouts, 10 submissions, never been finished in a fight. 12-3 in the UFC, champion with 2 successful defenses under his belt. He's won 6 straight and 7 up 8. Is not lost since July 2020. 2-1 in the Ultimate Fighter. Multiple region championships on his. Correct. Good shirt. sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. There you go. I thought I wasn't hearing you again. Correct. Good shirt. sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. That's a problem when I have a spreadsheet open and I don't see your mouth. Get sticky, everybody.
I did disappear, to be fair.
The dogs are being dogs. A 2007 Pro MMA debut, -250. I gotta go first here, don't I? Give me the champ. Give me Pantoja. I think he's underrated still. Maybe because he gets into tight fights always. But he's just so good. So well-rounded, so good everywhere. He's proven that he can fight at this level. Asakura has fought a lot of good people, but we're talking like people from Bellator, people from Ryzen. It's just a different level of fighter, most cases, than UFC fighter. The age obviously is going to be an issue for Pantoja soon, but Asakura is no spring chicken either. He's like 32, I think. So that's the thing. If Asakura was, say, 25, then sure, I might go with him here, but they're basically in the same age bracket, same general amount of wear and tear on their bodies as well. So I will go with the more known quantity, the guy who's proven he can get it done in Pantoja. But looking forward to seeing what we got here.
Yeah, I'm excited for Asakura, but I think ultimately, like, this is a fight where he really only wins if Pantoja's dumb enough to throw with him for an extended period of time. Like, when Pantoja decides to grapple in this fight, it shouldn't be a problem. Because, I mean, like, go back to Asakura's last loss. He lost to Hiromasa Ogikobu in the end of that Ryzen Grand Prix, and he lost in that fight because Ogikobu is like a above average wrestler, essentially, right? And granted, it was his second fight in a single night, so like maybe we discount that a little bit, but like, you know, don't forget Hiro got beat by Tim Elliott in the Ultimate Fighter, and largely by being out grappled. And so, like, you know, if we're just using like a transitive property here, we're talking about a guy who's a couple of steps below Tim Elliott in terms of his grappling abilities, and he's got to be in there with Alexandre Pantoja. And that is wildly alarming to me if you want to be an Asakura backer. So I'm going to go with Pantoja here. I think, like I said before, the longer he's on the feet, the more danger he's in. I just think he's probably not going to be there all that long.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't fight totally crazy here and gets the job. Well, actually, hopefully, because we picked him, but I wouldn't mind seeing seeing Asakura, you know, make a
little chaos here. Seeing a little
chaos.
Exactly. Hey, have you seen the stat on Japanese fighters in UFC title fights?
No, I assume it's not good though. I don't remember.
0-6-1 is the record, with 5 losses by finish. So only Cal Uno survived in both a losing and a draw effort. So he's the only Japanese fighter who made it to the bell in a UFC title fight. So not a great run so far.
Usually the case, and it's the case here, they get Japanese guys past their prime. Like that's Asakura probably is past his prime at this for a flyweight at this age.
Who are the other ones in championship? The only one I could Yushin Okami for sure.
Yeah. They got prime him, but you know, he had Anderson Silva in his division. So what are you gonna do? Yeah, but usually like the Fireball Kid or Gomi or all those people.
Taki Gomi. Yeah,
all those guys pretty much had their
Kid Yamamoto.
Yep, the kid.
Sexy Yama.
Yep. Yeah,
all past primes.
Yep, all past primes. Sexy Yama looks like he's done too. He was cooked for far too long. All right, recap. Pantoja, Rakhmonov. I have Gane. He has a Volkov. Both have Mitchell. We both have Landwehr. All right, fancy plays, locks, dogs, props, parlays, because I got to get out of here. Let's rip through them. Gumby is going first.
Nate Landwehr. I like him a lot in this Doho Choi fight. I think he gets it done.
Perfect. I got Max Payne and Griffin for mine. So Landwehr -138. I have Griffin at -122. Broke it down in full yesterday's episode. I think we're getting a real good line on him in this fight against who is he fighting again? Michael Chiesa. Yeah, I think that's a very good line against a guy like at this stage of his career, Michael Chiesa.
And I think we're both gonna have the same dog because you only have 1.5 dogs.
That's true.
So I bet you go Aljamain Sterling.
I am. Yeah.
Let's take Aljamain Sterling. I think being wildly undervalued against the Gane, Movsar Evloev, who's taken kind of a big step up here. So Aljamain Sterling. And then I mentioned my prop on yesterday's show, but I'm going to actually use it anyway. I'm going to take the over 1.5 rounds in Clay Guida versus Chase Hooper. The over 1.5 only juiced to like -165 right now. I think that's a really great value because, hey, I think Clay Guida is durable. I don't think Hooper is going to be able to have like a huge wrestling advantage. So give me Guida and Hooper over 1.5.
Yeah, I don't see this one. I don't see how they got finishing each other. So yeah, works for me. I have the opposite. I have Nate Landwehr inside the distance. I chickened out. I didn't take the submission prop that you were.
Oh, don't worry, it's coming up later.
Oh, all right, good. I think he can finish Choi either. He cracks and he submits people. So playing it safe. I'm still getting it at +180, which is decent enough for me. So Landwehr inside the distance. So Landwehr is Gumby's lock. Griffin is mine. Sterling's our dogs. Guida, Hooper over 1.5 rounds. Landwehr inside the distance are the props. So what was it? Was -160 you said for your prop?
-165.
Okay, 165. All right, Gumby, locks, dogs, props. No, this is
Hungry
Man
Man
Jog.
Hungry Man
Jog, Superman Parlay. Sorry,
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Hungry Man round robin again because we did it. We've done it 3 times. It's broken even 1 of the 3 times, so we got to get it up to even. I'm gonna start with the one you mentioned, Nate Landwehr by submission. You can get it at +550 right now. Let's start it off right with that one. I'm gonna mix in Clay Guida's money line because even though it's not a prop, it is +675, and I do believe in Clay Guida here. I'm also going to take Vicente Luque's submission line. You can get that at +400. I mentioned before, I think Themba Garimbo takes a dumb shot here and gets himself Dars choked. I'll take Aljamain Sterling's decision prop. It's not a whole heck of a lot better than his money line, but you can get that at like +325. And then last but not least, this is going to sound like a crazy one. I like Bryce Mitchell by knockout. And I think it's just probably like a exhaustion kind of deal for Kron Gracie's tired ass, but like you can get Bryce Mitchell by knockout at +650, and I think even like a TKO from Mount or something like that, like I think there's a possibility of that. I think he can pour it on. I think Bryce Mitchell by knockout might be one of my favorite sleeper plays. So if you put all those together, throw it in a round robin, you're going to get even money. You're going to break even if you get at least 2 of them right. You're actually going to do a little bit better than break even if you get any 2 of these right. And if you hit them all correct, you're going to get 240 times your output.
What?
So, dip into that and let's have ourselves a night.
Landwehr sub, Guida money line, Luque sub, Aljo sub, Mitchell.
No, Aljo decision. Aljo decision.
Oh, I'm sorry. Decision. Yes. I went crazy with the subs there. Aljo decision. Yeah, I like that. I think that'll happen. And Mitchell knockout. All right. You're all set. You want to chat more? We're in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. We're on the tube of Yube. You can check us out at MMA Gambling Podcast, obviously. You can check us out on the Twitter, X, SGPN MMA. He's going to be reeling. I'm Jeff Fox Writer there. And on Instagram, you can get in my, now that you know who's going to win, go to my Substack, enter my free pick'em contest for UFC 310 at moneymma.substack.com. Listen to Gumby's Top Turtle MMA podcast. Mystery guests. You have to.
Max Holzer for sure. Probably Max Griffin by the time you're listening to this.
Could be a maximum episode. So check it all out. Sportsgamblingpodcast.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. All right, Gumby. Get me out of here.
I'm Dana Gumby Reeling. He's the cannibal, Jeff Fox. And we will see you on Sunday.